All right. Testing. Well, jesting. Am I on now? Testing 1, 2. I forgot to turn on a piece of gear. Sorry about that, guys. Well, thank you for letting me know. That really sucked going through a live stream without you. Okay, well, let's start this over. Welcome to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. And as I was saying, I am excited to give you guys some information for the possibility of the world opening back up through the summer for you guys out there doing live performances. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to do the magic to great live singing, 10 amazing tips. Now I know I've done some information like this before, so I apologize if there's some crossover, but I think it's going to be worth your time. You'll really like it. Second thing is this is going to be my last broadcast for a little while. I'm going on a little hiatus for a bit. I'm going to move to the island of Crete in Greece for a while. So I'm going to do that all the way through the middle of September, and I'm leaving first week of July, Lord willing. Now I know Greece is opening up to the EU and the rest of the world July 1st, but I'm hearing some things. They may ban some countries like the US because of a new spike in COVID cases. So who knows? But whatever the case is, I will do some broadcasting from Greece because I wanted to do some broadcasting from a historical standpoint from some of the islands just for fun. Maybe might even do a little sit-in with some bouzouki players or something, who knows, but that sounds like fun. We're checking in here. We've got Croatia, Evo. We've got Karen chiming in. We've got Corvo from Chile. Let's see. Am I barefoot? Yeah, today I'm barefoot today because I ran down. I was in a little bit of a rush today. I've had a lot going on trying to get ready. So let's see here. We've got April Knowles. Hey, April. Yep, Alberto, Greece. This is where I'm going. Leroy, Rex Leroy. Jorge. I go to Cyprus sometimes. Yeah, that's cool. April Knowles, Kathy Gambino. Hey, Kathy. Kathy. I have to keep doing that because I love that Kathy meme that goes around Facebook. Wow, Greece, send me some pics. Broadcast. Yes, I will. I'll send you guys some pics. So I want to kind of dive into this, and I want to take some questions here in a bit. We've got a lot of people tuning in still from all over the world. But, singing, it's funny because I get so many people, and I mean many people, that always want the fast, quick fix tip to something. And guys, if you're looking for a fast, quick tip fix for something, I'm sorry, you're not going to find it. Straight up. You might find a little nuance of something that helps here and there. But if you're looking to be a great live vocalist and you're looking to be a great singer, it doesn't happen overnight. There's not a quick fix. There's not a quick tip. There are things that will help, a little bit if you're in a pinch or something that might get you through something. But it's better to kind of focus on what amazing things that are going to make you amazing rather than what tip is going to just barely give you a little tiny bit of information. So I'm going to dive right in. Now, before I get to tip number one, all right, before I go into tip number one, Tip number 0. Oh, I shouldn't do that. I forgot that's inappropriate these days. Okay. Tip number 0 is, so silly these days, is be prepared. Be prepared. You guys seen the cow? Be prepared. You that have kids would really appreciate it. I have grandkids, child, another one with my daughter on the way. 2 things about this, actually several things. The first thing is what I've learned as much, if not more than anything, is that when it comes showtime or even show day, that we get so discombobbled and so flustered, and we start to kind of go in this little kind of creepy fight or flight thing where we kind of lose touch with reality, with stuff, with people, with whatever, because we're so nervously preoccupied with the task at hand, our show. And so we forget stuff, we forget where we put stuff, we do all these weird things where we would never normally, or most of the time we would never normally forget, right? So my strong suggestion is, tip 0, is to have well in advance everything in one place, right? It could be your workout MP3 player. It could be your guitar strings. It could be your picks. It could be your microphone. It could be your headset. It could be whatever that is. Have it in one place in a gig bag ready to go. If you do this, you will be so thankful that by the time you get to the gig, you don't go, oh, I forgot batteries for my blah, blah, blah. Dang, what did I do with the lyrics? I made a bunch of set lists. I have no idea what I did with them. And you find them on the kitchen countertop when you get back home after the gig, and you find yourself, copiously and feverishly writing out, set lists for everybody or whatever that is. So just put your stuff, get your gig together, right? And put it in something in advance. That would be an awesome 0 tip, okay? Number 0. But starting with tip number 1, be in shape vocally. Now, people don't love to hear this, but it's the truth, okay? It's just cold, hard fact truth. Get yourself in shape vocally. And we discuss at Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy what it takes to do that. I'm not going to do all that here and now. I'm just telling you, if you want to sing amazing and you want 10 amazing tips, so be in shape vocally. It's silly to think that you're about to enter a sporting match, such as football, soccer, basketball, surfing, volleyball. I don't care what it is. To think that you're going to enter a match and be game shape without being game shape. Okay? Let me say that again. In other words, don't expect to go into some high-paced, high-powered, huffing and puffing event if you're not in shape. Physically, is your body, and also mentally, and also vocally, okay? Very, very important. Because you're just not going to be able to perform at your best, and you'll have a lot of things working against you that you didn't have in a perfectly climate-controlled climate, like here, but, in a studio or whatever that is. To have the perfect environment is one thing to practice in over and over again. It's another thing to have stuff thrown your way that you weren't expecting, and then having to deal with that. So anyway, now I've got personally a ton of free exercises on YouTube. If you can't afford my course or whatever that is, please go to my YouTube channel and start doing some of these exercises that will sincerely help you on game day or on show day. All right. Now, next thing is tip number 2. Practice your songs over and over again until you're absolutely sick of them. I mean, if I never heard that song again, that would be fine with me. And then go out and play it, okay? There's a lot of reasons for this, not the least of which is, now, by the way, you can practice something incorrectly and embed bad habits. So we'll talk about that, about, practicing songs correctly until you're sick of them. But several things happen. One, you're not sitting there with lyric sheets all over the place going, gosh, is there that lyric? And I forgot, would this verse say, come all this and go all that, blah, blah, blah. It switches it up. So you're not thinking about lyrics. You're not thinking about how to pace the song because you've already done that in the song or the set. I don't know if you're doing a whole set or just a song or two. You're going to practice this so many times that your main preoccupation is making the audience happy. Your preoccupation is not worrying about, will I hit the note? Can I sustain this song that's really hard to sing for long periods of time? Do I have enough voice to finish the set? None of that. Your preoccupation is to put smiles on people's faces. We've talked about that before. That's very, very important. So just practice those tunes until you're sick of them. And then try this. Practice them up a half step. Really? And you can say, well, how do I do that? Well, I mean, if you're doing a karaoke version or a band or something, get a simple program. It could be like the cheap program of Melodyne, whatever it is. Get a simple program and tune the whole track up a half step. Really. And then when you're done, tune the whole track up a whole step if you can. So what that means is, but I have these 2 songs where I can barely do the one high note as it is. If that's the case, then you're so out of your element for that one high note throughout your set that you should reconsider the song, or reconsider taking that one song and putting it in a lower key so that you can actually manage what I'm talking about. Because what you're going to find out is, if you do this up a half step, and then you do it up a full step, or even just a half step, but if you can do it all the way up a full step, and you practice the songs that way, come show day, you're going to go, wow, that was so much easier than what most people do, and that's tuning down a half step because they can't even manage doing the songs in the normal key, okay? Now, that's a very typical thing that people do, because when they record something that's usually superhuman, and they can't reduplicate that live, so they tune it down a half step and a couple of Hail Marys and hope for the best, right? We don't want to do that at KTVA. We want to be rock solid. I want to be proud of you when you go out and represent me, okay? So anyway, tip number 3. Boop. Is that a bad thing to do? Okay, good, it's not. When singing or practicing your song or something, do something slightly aerobic. I know this sounds kind of weird, but it's true. When you go on stage, you're kind of anaerobic in the absence of oxygen. And what happens, your heart beats really fast, adrenaline starts flowing, and you start panting and you start gasping for air because you're nervous, you're excited, whatever that is. And so your body's not used to that. When you're in a climate controlled environment like this, you're not nervous at all. And you think, well, I could just go out and do something. If you do something aerobic, it might be kind of weird, but just kind of, hey, when I'm morning, I don't know where I've been, and you're kind of like cruising around, you're doing your thing. Do something slightly aerobic. Ride a bike, little jumping jacks. Get one of those, treadmill walker things. You kind of walk quick and sing your songs. I'm telling you, whoops, almost kicked over my guitar. I'm telling you, it will really, really help you when it comes time where your heart starts to race and you start to feel that, that sucking out of oxygen feeling where you're, almost starting to feel a little faint because of this anaerobic response, or this lack of oxygen response from adrenals kicking in. So that's really, really, really helpful. Tip number 4, picking a specific, consistent time to practice. Now, we've talked about this, that the voice has a biological clock. It does. It's really trippy. It's like, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It has a biological clock, and it likes to be warmed up at the same time. Now, I know there are morning people and there are evening people. I happen to be a morning guy, okay? And I know for a fact that so it's easier for me to sing in the morning than at night. But I know for a fact that since I've spent a lifetime singing shows at night, that I've had to recalibrate or reset my biorhythmical clock, not only for my body, but, to stay awake and be ready and ready to rock at, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, up till 11, 12, 1, whatever that is, to be ready to perform at that hour. And when I warm up my voice with regularity, usually about a week or 2 in advance, it's just like jet lag. It's like jet lag for the voice, straight up. It usually takes 4 or 5-ish days, 3, 4, 5 days to kind of get in the saddle of that time zone, whatever time zone you put your voice in. Okay, so voice has a biological clock. Warm it up at the time that you want to sing. So that's really, really important. Tip number 5: do not warm up twice in one day. A lot of people say, well, gosh, I want to become a singer really bad, really fast. So I'm going to warm up in the morning, and then or sing in the morning, and I'm going to sing at night, or warm up in the morning, warm up at night. The voice is like any part of the body, guys, and it needs time to rest, okay? It needs time to rejuvenate, right? And if we don't give it about the 24-hour clock that it needs to rejuvenate, it constantly breaks down, and we're not sharpening the saw to cut down the tree. We've got this dull blade, and we're really not getting anywhere, and in some cases, we're probably getting diminishing returns. So give your body enough time to rest. Go all out. When it's time to do your warm-ups and your practice and your singing, go all out. Leave it all in the field. Go for it. Practice hard. And then give your body time to adjust and to rejuvenate, particularly, 24 hours. It doesn't always need 24 hours, too, by the way. Interesting side note. If you wake up in the morning and you feel like you hadn't had a good night of sleep the night before, and you wake up with morning voice and it's show day, it's a really good idea to take a nap. Now do it well in advance before the show because the voice drops pretty hard. So like most people, it's hard to get the voice to come up in the morning. It's like, you feel like you're way down there. That's true after a nap too. Not as bad as a full sleep. You get 6, 7, 8, 9 hours or whatever. But it does do that. So don't warm up in the morning. That being said, take your nap and warm up after your nap, and then you'll find that you're able to get a lot more clarity and strength and whatnot out of your voice. So don't warm up twice. Number 6. Warm up approximately 1 hour before showtime. Now, this is really important, guys, because a lot of people will go, well, I'll warm up in the morning and then I'll sing my show at night. Or I have sound check at 1 o'clock. Should I warm up before sound check, do sound check, and then warm up again? No. No. If you got a sound check at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, by the way, I'm talking more to the professional here, or you that do sing a lot, just do a very light warm up. And sing very lightly at sound check. Don't go crazy. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute. And then warm up 1 hour beforehand, giving yourself about 15 to 20 minutes before actual showtime, all the way up to 5 minutes before showtime. Okay. If you wait longer than about a half hour, the voice starts to set again. It starts to drop, and then you have to go back and re-warm up a bit and then get the voice to come back up. So that's really, really important. Now, and when I say about the 15 minutes before showtime, this is also true for like a rehearsal situation. So if you've got a rehearsal coming up and you got a band rehearsal, you're going to do 5 shows or whatever, or 5 shows. You're going to do like a rehearsal like 4 or 5 days in a row, or let's say you have band practice, Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever that is. Make sure that you try to get your voice at the same time as rehearsal and warm up about an hour before rehearsal also. And then people say, but wait a minute, Ken, what if I don't have a great place to warm up in? Like there's no green room, or there's no, I would have to go to the bathroom or something. Do whatever you got to do. Really, doesn't matter. Don't not warm up. Not warming up is going to hurt you. So find a car you can go sit in. Even though I told you don't warm up sitting down, if that's all you got, that's all you got. If you have to go somewhere in another room, if it seems kind of foolish because the band's in the room or the guys are playing loud, be careful not to over sing them. If you're in a green room with a bunch of guys noodling around on their instruments, paradiddles on the drums or whatever it is, get yourself away to where you can hear yourself enough, even if it's just facing in a corner and just kind of, singing into a corner by yourself. Put yourself in a timeout. Put yourself in the corner and sing. So anyway, I would strongly recommend that. And just do the best you can because it's very important. Tip number 7, taking a long, hot, steamy shower before your show, right? About 2 hours before. So, and or before practice. Or before rehearsal and or practice, practicing personal practice or band practice or showtime. Now, you want to do it like about an hour or so, hour to maybe 45 minutes or so before you start warming up. Because what it does is the moisture comes in, it puts moisture and resiliency back in the chords. So the old adage, I sound better in the shower. Well, yes, there's reverb and no one's listening. I get all that too. But it really does provide moisture and put moisture and resiliency back in the chords and the folds. So it's a very, very helpful thing. Now, I recommended before too, if your chords are really thick, you can take ibuprofen. Don't do that all the time. It's horrible on your stomach, not good for your body. It's something you can do. So you can take a couple, 3 ibuprofen, an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours before showtime, about an hour and a half before showtime. So it really kicks in showtime. But you're better off doing turmeric every day. I've talked about this a lot. Turmeric and black pepper. You can do it with turmeric root itself. You can get, I've got other supplements I've recommended already, but turmeric or curcumin, but particularly turmeric and black pepper really reduces inflammation, works every bit as good as, something. And again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. Don't take it that way. It's personal experience advice I'm giving you, so please understand that. But my experience has been, and experience with a lot of people I've worked with has been, that curcumin and our turmeric and black pepper work every bit as good as ibuprofen. The difference is ibuprofen works really, really quickly, and curcumin or turmeric, it takes like 24, 48 hours to get in your system. So you have to do it with some regularity first before you do it. So don't expect to do it show day, and then boom, it's going to kick in like ibuprofen. It doesn't work like that. So it has to accumulate in the blood and, help with the lactic and uric acid in the body, and again, also reduce inflammation. So anyway, really good stuff. Next thing is beverages. Let's see here. I did the curcumin. Oh, tip number 8. Here we go. Oh, by the way, curcumin also helps with postnasal drip and acid reflux. So if that's an issue for you, it's not going to reduce or it's not going to take away inflammation. Though turmeric tea is good for that. Turmeric and ginger tea is really good for that. Green tea, ginger, turmeric tea. That's awesome. But it helps, with when acid reflux does spike on the chords, or postnasal drip does drip on the folds and inflames them, or you don't get good phonation and have some dysphonia, which is lack of sound. Then this is a really helpful thing to do over time. Period. Just if you have that issue, period, do that. So tip number 8. Do not eat any more than an hour close to showtime. So guys, I see this all the time. People, there's two camps on this. There's the camp of, oh, don't worry about me. I'm so nervous that day, I don't really eat anything until after the show. Well, guys, we need energy. Your body needs energy. So we really do force yourself to eat. Eat a salad, do something. But don't do it within that 1 hour window before showtime for lots of reasons. One of which, it will regurgitate and you'll start to, burp it out. I've done this a lot of times. You lose a lot of good diaphragmatic support if you got a big meal. Don't eat big, fat, greasy meals, guys. Eat something healthy, just, carrots and hummus. I mean, just something that's, and you go, hey, are you vegan, guy? What's wrong with you? Yeah, actually I am. I do like a steak once in a while and some pizza, but for the most part, I do try to eat plant-based, whole food, organic foods, and it's very, very helpful. And by the way, I get like all this crazy energy. So if you're wondering, hey, how do you get all that energy? How do you sing like that? How do you do this stuff? How do you find all the strength to work out like that? Because I take care of myself, I exercise, I eat healthy, all that stuff. It actually matters. So don't eat a bunch of greasy foods, French fries, pizza, hamburgers, that kind of deep fried stuff. Avoid it. Things like that. Even sweets, like sweets can cause inflammation. Sugars. Try to do just look it up. I did a whole video on this on diet for singers. Just look it up. I don't want to take the time to talk about that here, but it is very, very important. Now, the other thing too is a lot of people, they'll drink a bunch of alcohol before they go because it helps with their nerves. Well, it may do that, but it dries you out like crazy. So it's you're actually trading one evil for another, and not the least of which one could be worse than the other. So avoid carbonated beverages too. Just room temperature filtered water. That is by far the best. People do elixirs and they love elderberry and all this stuff. Whatever. A lot of that stuff is glycerin in it. I told you that before, which is a sugar. It lands in the chords. You finally find yourself clearing your throat a lot, clearing your throat, and it exacerbates the folds anyway. So it's like you may get an initial benefit for it soothing the throat, but over time it actually can actually be worse for you rather than helpful. That's true for throat coat sprays and all that stuff. Some people swear by them, some people swear at them. I happen to be in the swear at them category. Anyway, so no carbonated beverages. Very important. Dairy products, avoid them. Just avoid them. They cause mucus, right? They're hard to digest. I know it's a bummer. I love pizza. I just want to have cream in my coffee, whatever it is. Get a nut milk cream or do something else. Get a substitute, at least for show day. Get a substitute so that you're not hacking a bunch of mucus or dealing with mucus issues. Because, and they can also cause inflammation as well. So tip stay hydrated too. I meant to say that. Drink a ton of water. You might have to pee like a racehorse. That's okay. Still, drink a ton of water. You'll feel so good. It brings a lot of oxygen to your veins, to your blood. So that and by the way, B complex is really good for that too. So if you do a B complex, B actually carries iron to the blood, which gives oxygen to the bloodstream, and actually what the term is blows up the veins. So in other words, they get nice and swollen in a good way to provide really good circulation. Caffeine does exactly the opposite. Caffeine shrinks the vein structure. The body's actually in a fight or flight for oxygen, including the brain. That's why we kind of hype out, because we get all hyped up, because that's precisely what caffeine is doing to us. So avoid it. You know what I mean? Just do healthy things. Stay hydrated, good filtered, room temperature water. Tip number 9, when sound checking, don't overdo it. Now, that's why I said I was going to come back and revisit this. So if you are going to go down and just check the sound system, or you're really early and it's way before showtime, don't try to impress people with your voice. Don't impress the 3 people in the room. Impress the 300 people or the 3,000 people that are going to be in the room, okay? So have some restraint, use some common sense. And when you sound check, just do it kind of lightly. Don't over sing. The other thing too is, like I said, if you're sound checking earlier in the day, don't warm up. Just a little lip drill, maybe a tongue exercise or something. Sing really gently. And this is something that I do personally, and you can do what you want with this information. But when you're in a room, in a venue, and you're going to perform, and you sound check, or you're getting a mic test or line test for everybody, the room is empty. And so there's no people in the room, in other words. And when people enter the room, and especially if it's a full house, they can absorb up to 30% of the sound in the room. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, that means that if you sound checked and the room gets filled with people and it becomes dense with sound, it's like a big baffle or muffle in the center of the room with all these people, it sucks up sound. Well, then what happens is you have a tough time hearing yourself, because a lot of times we adjust, not only, let's say we're using in-ears or wedges, front monitors, we use those in conjunction with the public address system, the PA that's hitting the room. And a lot of times we get the fold back off the room, how much is coming off the monitors or whatever in our in-ears, and we sort of adjust our need for how much we want to be able to hear ourselves based on that. Well, now add the equation that now 30% of that PA that was hitting the room, you can no longer hear. So you're relying almost entirely on your wedges or your in-ears or whatever, and all of a sudden the volume is down by a factor of a lot. Now, spoiler alert, when guys sound check their gear, guitar players, particularly guitar players and drummers, they sound check at a certain level. Okay? Crack, crack, crack. And so that's where they sound check at. The guitar player, he's over here on 4, 3, whatever it is. And then poor guy, he can never hear himself. So it goes up to 5, song number 3. Goes up to 6, song number 5, whatever it is. Before you know it, it's cranked up, and you just got this wall of sound. The drummer's finally warmed up, man. He's drums are way louder. Now the bass player can't hear himself, so he comes over, right? And so there's this power play, or this competition, competing for everyone wanting to hear themselves. Well, guess what? The singer doesn't get the luxury of going over to the mixing console and turning themselves up. So what you do is, my little secret, is you get it so obnoxiously loud during sound check, and you sing real gentle, and make the sound person or whomever's in charge think that that's your normal singing volume. So when you need it and you need that extra volume, it is there for you. Now you're going to say, oh, wait a minute, Ken. If the sound engineer's at the mixing console and they put the line trim threshold at a certain thing and you sing too loud, you'll distort the line trim. That is true, but a good sound engineer, that being said, when he sees it distort, he knows that if he brings the line trim down, he's not only bringing down your volume for you on your stage or the monitor man, mix guy, right? But he's also bringing down how loud you are in the room. So he has to compensate for it. So by definition, he'll bring down the trim and bring up the fader at the same time, and you're going to get what you're looking for ultimately. And maybe a second or two before he makes this adjustment, but at least you're covered and you're not at the mercy of the obnoxious guitar player and super loud drummer. So that's a really good trick for me that it's worked really, really great. Get as much headroom as you can, and make it blisteringly loud. Tip number 10, remember to have a good time no matter what. Okay? Don't go up at the, this sourpuss, I couldn't get a good sound check, man. My sleep sucked the night before. My girlfriend left me. No, man. Go there and have a good time. That's the whole point of this. You're not there to necessarily to show how awesome you are to everybody. You're not going with I would hope not, with this giant ego going, hey, I can't wait to show you how awesome I am today, right? You're going there to have a good time. You're going there to have other people have a good time. You're going there to tell a story. You're going there to share a song. You're going there to just have fun. Well, if you're going there to have fun, then have fun. Be prepared, right? Go through all of these steps that we talked about and prepare yourself so that when it comes showtime, you're there to have a good time. That's what you work so hard for. Enjoy it. You worked hard for it. Why not enjoy it, right? Even if you make a mistake, guys, or you crack on a note, whatever it is, the audience is there to have a good time. And it's high time you go with a view towards you're going there to put smiles on their faces. And the way to put smiles on their faces is for you to have a smile first. Very, very important. If you're not having a good time, they're not going to have a good time. So that's the key to entertainment. Now, there's several things to sort of buffer or to give you every advantage to doing this, okay? The first thing, this should be another tip, but I included it in this good time part, is to not have your hardest songs first. Now, for you that are maybe just singing a song or two, don't try to pick a song that isn't crazy hard right out the gate, or don't walk out and just kill yourself on the first verse. Pace yourself. Again, use some common sense. Pace yourself. Pace yourself in your set. If you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 songs, or if you're one of these people, you work at Mastro's and you got you're going to sing for 3 hours. Pace yourself, right? Don't put your hardest stuff up front. Put your harder song number 3, then maybe song number 4, then back it off a song, something easier, then another more difficult song number 5, and go through this so that you can not look like you're struggling for every note or having a tough time trying to make it through the set. You can have a good time with everybody else because you've been smart about this and you paced yourself, okay? Very, very easy. Next thing is, by the way, that was tip number 10, but I got on a roll and I was thinking about this stuff and I couldn't help myself. That, as we're thinking about singing, I never think of a song or a set like a sprint. I think of it like a marathon. And when the gun goes off and that gate opens up, or, whatever, I'm crossing that first line, I don't immediately go crazy right out the line. And I could do that. I'm in shape enough to do that. I don't do that because I want to get a lay of the land. I want to know, what the energy level's like. I want to know what the audio sounds like. I'm not going to blow myself out because I can't hear myself, and all of those factors. So I kind of cruise along, and when it's time, bam, I hit him with something. And when it's time, bam, I hit him with something else. But I wait to strike at the moment that I feel like the energy's right, or I've got the meeting out of the palm of my hand, if there is such a thing, or whatever that is. And even if you have a Cadaversville audience, a dead audience, okay? Then you're there still to have a good time and treat it like, I'm going to make this the best rehearsal I've ever had. Really. So if you get in a situation where there's nowhere near the amount of people that you hope there'd be, still give it your all. You're not there to have an attitude. This sucks. All of my friends didn't show up, even though I tried to pay them to come, bribe them to come. No, you go there, and no matter what, you're professional and you put it all out there, because this is still a practice for something yet still better to come, or something still to come. So I really want to bring that home. Now, number 11, there was 10, but number 11, I said I got in a roll and I didn't want to stop, is how you get really good at this is you do it a lot. You don't do one show every month or 2 months. But Ken, that's all I can do. No, not true. No. You can go to karaoke. You can busk in the street. You can sing at your school. You can go be a sweetheart and get your guitar out to a convalescent hospital and sing for people that, have seen a better day. There's lots of ways that you can perform and get out there at children's hospital, whatever it is. There's lots of things that you can do to stay performing on a regular basis. The more you do this, the less you get jitters, butterflies in the stomach, the more comfortable you are with coming out live, the less it takes you 3 or 4 or 5 songs to get comfortable and have your adrenaline come down. This is true for singing the national anthem too, or anything like that. You just do it a lot, and you'll watch how your fear will diminish and just kind of melt into nothing, right? That old saying, if you face your fears, 2/3 of it melts away. It's really true, man. Do 2/3 of playing out live and see how much of your fear drops and how much easier it is. Now, a few final closing thoughts. I am going to answer some questions here. These are funnies for me. And for you guys out there that have been on this, you'll appreciate this. And some of you, it will mean absolutely nothing to you. Never stand on the left side of a right-handed guitar player. How many times have I been waxed by that? Never stand on the right hand of a left-handed guitar player, right? Or bass player, for that matter, if they move around, and especially if they like to throw their guitar around. That's a big tip. Next one, number 2, wear shoes on stage at all times. Someone says, are you barefoot? Yeah, today's one of those days I put on shorts, and I didn't even throw any shoes on today because I'm like flying free. I'm going to go out for some hiking after this and get some exercise. Anyway, so definitely wear shoes, or you could have a shocking experience. Trust me on that. To you guitar players and bass players out there, strap locks don't always lock, baby. Remember that one. Number 4, make note of where the flash pods are at all times. You're going to have a really explosive performance if you don't do that. Number 5, never invite too many people on stage. Have I experienced that one before? And be careful, because We want to always be wary of spontaneous human combustion. With that said, all right, guys, I'm going to take some questions here. And Christian, we're going to start with Christian. Ken, is there a way to get my throat muscles to know exactly which ones to work for, create vocal range, and how to do it with making your voices, boxes, sore or inflamed? English may not be your first language, but the answer is yes. First of all, I have a singing course. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, and I cover all of that. I also have a brand new course that I've got on sale right now. Today is the last day. In fact, this wasn't a plug for this. It's called Voice Repair, and I go through that exact thing. I don't go necessarily through vocal range, but how to keep your voice in a good, repaired place, how to keep it healthy, and by doing stretching exercises with your voice. We go through and we do these scales and different things with different vowel modifications and such in order to be able to stretch the voice to get the range we're hoping to get, and connecting our chest voice through the passaggio and mixed voice on into head voice and back. Right? To go through this whole range, to have it connected, to get that range that you're looking for. So hopefully that was helpful. Ruben, hey, Ruben, you always pop in for a question. Good to see you, man. Hi, Ken. This question is off topic, but what is your favorite movie? School of Rock. It's way up there. You know what my favorite thing in that movie was? There were so many good things about that movie. One of my favorite things was when he's got that chart, right, on the blackboard, and he's teaching, well, the Clash did this, and they went here, and Led Zeppelin was here, and he's got this really cool thing, and then some of the slogans and sayings from the movie, like, I'm not cool enough, all that stuff. I just love that. Good movie. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. Thanks, Ruben. Yes, that would be way up there in my food chain. Dominations. Is there another tip or exercise to get mixed voice? I've been growing both my head and chest voice and did the exercises you gave on the previous videos, but still hear the break. Okay, well, we've talked about this in Dominations. Again, it's kind of tough because, you may be in a situation where you can't afford my course and whatnot, so you're relying on free, small snapshot tutorial videos on YouTube. In fact, it's really funny, people say, well, why do I want to buy your course if I can get, all your YouTube videos for free? Well, actually, on my YouTube videos, I only, unfortunately, can give a snapshot, like 10% of what's in the course. It's just an example to show you if you really want to take your voice seriously. You start with this little thing over here, and if it works for you or it makes sense to you, then you step into an actual program or an actual course. So, answer to your question, what you do is you start, instead of worrying about the break, I told you this and I've explained this thoroughly, is you can't over bloat the mid voice. You can't over bloat, sorry, not the mid voice. You can't over bloat mixed voice, I meant to say. At the passaggio. So what people do is they want to sing really loud in their chest voice, and they want to barrel through that chest voice and then try to connect to their head voice in the mixed voice section where the passaggio happens. The problem is, like a knee on a leg, or let's use my elbow for example. Let's say this is a leg and I'm going to go kick a soccer ball, okay? Let's say this is my chest voice. It's the bigger, right? And then this is my head voice. And this is the passaggio. Well, if this is strong, I've strengthened my head voice, and this is really strong, this is the foundation that keeps, it's the whole thing that connects it all together. If I haven't made this strong, I can only have the impact of the ball that I'm kicking as strong as this area is without it breaking. Register break, okay? Right? Passaggio break. So I have to do it start out lightly, real quiet. I don't mean airy, but real quiet and gentle. And then I keep kicking it, and I keep kicking it. And little by little, I create enough strength in the elbow, which is the passaggio, to connect this to be able to start kicking harder and harder, getting more and more volume. Now, at first, it's going to be miserable because you're going to maybe only have to go really, really lightly before you can actually, not hear the register break. Well, okay, that's part of the process. Now, there's a lot more to it than this, guys. It's not just, here's a quick tip, this is how, boom, you're good to go. There's timbre factors, keeping the voice bright. There's factors there's vowel placements, vowel modifications, support. All these things play a tremendous role in how to get to this place. But I'm answering the question, how do you ultimately get there? And that's how. So you've already worked your chest voice correctly with all the different vowel mods and structures and strength and relaxation, etc. You've already worked your head voice with a nice bright timbral sound with all the vowel mods and everything that kind of, you brought it down into your chest voice, as far as you can, and you built that up, blah, blah, blah. And then you start building the process. Okay. Next up, Beverly says, hey, Ken, how do I keep intake breath silent and not sound like I'm drawing my last breath? Like Darth Vader. Like that, you mean? Well, chances are, I don't know what kind of mic you're using. I don't know, whatever it is, but several things are at play here. The first thing is we try to take as much breath through the nose as we can because it warms the breath and it adds moisture. We talked about this before. If you've ever had a head cold and you wake up in the morning, your throat is super dry because you couldn't breathe anything through your nose. Well, that's exactly what's happening to your vocal folds. It's drying them out and it's becoming dehydrated. So you split the difference in trying to take some of the breath through the nose as much as you can and some air through into the mouth and through the trachea, I meant to say. But the thing of it is, guys, is I don't know if you have a lung issue and I don't know what is causing the stricture of that sound. So there's a lot of things that play in that. So chances are it sounds to me like you may have some stricture or some inflammation issues in the trachea. So you might want to have someone take a look at it because most people don't go all the time. Now, if you're singing phrases that are quick stab staccato phrases that require like, hey, right, and you're it's just the nature of what it is. So, if you've got an unclogged or an unrestricted trachea and whatnot, it's just the nature. Okay, Ruben, I know you are going to ask me more questions. Ruben's on the ball here. Ken, is warming up for 2 hours too much? Ruben, we've talked about this, remember? So everyone has a different threshold. Everyone has a different starting place. Everyone has a different maturity level. Everyone has a different, the amount of what technically they're doing correct or not, and what is sustainable for how much technical information they're able to get through to something. I recommend when you first start out, 20 minutes. Really, 20 minutes. Then move it to 25 if you're doing it correctly. And then you can incrementally increase that by 5-10 minutes or so as you start to get stronger. I recommend, 3, 4, 5 days starting at 1, maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 days adding a little bit more, 3 or 4, 5, 6 days adding 5-10 minutes more until you get up to about an hour a day. If, like me, I actually warm up for about 75 minutes before I start to sing all day. So I'm actually not just doing 2 hours, I'm singing all day, but I have built my body strength and stamina up to be able to accommodate that. And so, Ruben, it's not a one size fits all. I don't know technically how you're singing. I don't know if you're doing things incorrectly, etc., etc. So all those things play a tremendous role in that. Popland, apparently singing in the shower even stops your speaking voice from aging. Is it true? Well, actually, yeah, there is some truth to that, Popland. I know that sounds like a wives' tale, but it's not, in the sense that if you're strengthening any muscle in your body correctly, let me say this again. If you're strengthening any muscle or muscle group in your body correctly, then you're not stopping it for aging, but you're certainly slowing down the aging process. And like me, I'm in really good shape, and I'm not in my 30s. So, but I've stayed the course, and I've stayed in good shape. So the more we do that, the longer we can hold on to it. Okay. Next one, Mark. Hey Ken, I got scoped yesterday. I have acid reflux causing inflammation inflammation to the top of my chords. I am a KTVA student and was wondering, will your new voice course report help? Absolutely, it will. Yes, it will. And it'll walk you through also from a dietary standpoint, but it'll also walk you through exact exercises and things that will help with postnasal drip and with acid reflux. So absolutely. Alejandro, how to scream without breaking up seriously. Well, Alejandro, you're saying, I want to jump out of an airplane, and I think I've got a parachute, but I'm just not sure. By the way, I'm not making fun of you, but a lot of people ask this question. Alejandro, screaming is an extreme sport for singing, okay? Any form of distortion is an extreme sport for singing. You've got to start from the basics of building the voice first correctly, and in stages, and also in succession, meaning there is a sequence to which this voice is built correctly, not just a little of this and a little of that and a little of this and I'm good to go. There's a sequence to that, just like any extreme sport. So you're not going to be one of those, wing glider guys jumping off a mountain with just 2 little wings on you, unless you've been doing this a long time. And actually, those guys start out by jumping out of airplanes with a parachute and start to work their way out that way, and then eventually migrate into the extreme sport of screaming. So take my advice, man. Get my course, or whomever's course you really think will get you there, and do this correctly so you don't hurt yourself. Dominations again. Hey Ken, is there a reason why my nose sometimes gets stuffy when I warm up or sing, or is it because I have a cold, which I do? It's because you have a cold. But also, hey, that's a good point. It says, should I continue my warm-ups and should I wait till my cold goes away? No, I advocate singing through colds and flu because it keeps the voice strong, it keeps elasticity back in the vocal folds themselves, which is very important, and the resiliency so that when your cold is done, boom, you're right back in the saddle and ready to sing again. So in answer to your question, two things. A lot of people don't even know how much mucus is lodged in the sinus cavity, and they don't even know it, and they may not even hear it, when they talk or speak. And when they sing, it actually starts to dislodge, and so it starts to break up, and then it comes down into, through the sinus cavities, and then down into the esophagus and also into the trachea and on the vocal folds themselves. So with that said, then you're clearing out the sinuses. Either way, you're clearing out the sinuses, but in this case, even if a silent drip, you're clearing out the sinuses, and eventually it'll start to disseminate and go away, and you're going to be able to get to that. But you do want to be careful on how much air you use, how slowly and gently you warm up. I cover that in my singing course. I also cover that in my voice repair course that's out right now. So anyway, Beverly, I decongest 45 to 60 seconds in. I feel it start to build up on my chords. I resist the urge to cough and clear, and can sometimes sing it out. Or I find a break where I drink water. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, you work through it, and you work through it slowly, and eventually you'll be able to, at the very least, get to your 80% capacity where you're normally sing, even if the post-nasal drip continues, or even if the acid reflux continues. Edwin, Ken, I'm a baritone. The world is ruled by tenors. Is it possible to get into tenor territory? Yeah, I'm a baritone too. So I'm a high bari, and I sing all the way up in soprano range. So it's a sequence that we build the chords in. I cover that on my singing course. It's not in voice repair, but I go and I walk you through step by step exactly how to build the voice and how to move on up into different registrations, like basses or even low baries can go sing into the tenor range. So Zappa Freak. Ken, sometimes when I sing woo or ah, I sound like there are two sounds coming out, like I'm almost harming. Yeah, that's actually, the chords are entering into a state of dysphonia, which means they're starting to break up. And so let's pretend you have a reed of grass. And you have a reed of grass, and you put it in your thumbs, right? You remember as a kid, you go, right? Well, what happens is as the chords start to have separation, which is not a good thing. And by the way, this can happen at different stages of the vocal folds themselves. So it's not only at one part of the chord. It could be happening in your upper register, your hooty fluty falsetto register. That may be more evident, and it may show up more in that register than in your lower register. It happens a lot, like the David Lee Roth scream is sort of referred to as that. But that's a sign of losing your voice, particularly your head voice. So what you need to do is you need to cut back the air, and you need to get back good chord closure. So as I'm back to the reed of grass, I go, woo! And sometimes, though it may hit a note value, if it's really loose in the thumbs, it might have a weird vibration where I get like a couple notes or three notes. Now, some people refer to Nubian throat singers and it sounds like Juice Harden, right? They have those weird songs. They use that in a different kind of way, so it's not the same as a Nubian throat singer or Tuban throat singer. Tuval, also, there's a bunch of Andean mountain singers that do this stuff like this. But I bring that up because that's not the same as someone that rehearses that sound and can control it as someone where it happens as a byproduct of losing your voice. So you need to get good chord closure. You need to start with singing with much less volume in the brightest tones possible and bringing back that closure so that you're not, and then also you may need to get yourself strobed because it also could be a pre-sign of pre-nodules, unfortunately, but it's true. Next, Kyle, Ken, singers use vocal zone lozenges before they perform, which contain, yes, menthol, myrrh, tincture, licorice extract, peppermint oil. Now, by the way, there are lozenges that are good, okay? I'm not saying they're all bad. Any ones with sugars are not good for you, for the throat. I mean, not good for you, in lots of ways. I mentioned one. I know doTERRA has one that's similar to the one by what's that other multi-level company called? Young Living. And it's the ones I've shown you before. And those are really, really good. They're called Thieves. 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 They're doggone expensive. A little bag like that's $20. I think they're like 50 cents or 70 cents a lozenge. They're pretty expensive, but they work really good. They're really good at clearing out the sinuses, and relaxing the folds themselves. Now, as far as drying out the folds, too much mentholatum, too much myrrh, and too much elderberry can dry you out. Okay? It's awesome for the immune system. It's awesome for support, the immune support. Couldn't recommend it more highly. But when it comes to drying out the folds, drink a gob of water if you're going to take them, and that's okay. But also remember that too much mentholatum can actually dry out the cords and eventually make the body start to shut down instead of doing the opposite of what it does when it opens you up. Okay, Lorette, hey Ken, you talk about false chords, how to use them, and what do they do when you use them? Well, a lot of people, it's a good example. You go, when I'm in a state of fry, that can be a form of using false vocal folds. So a lot of people use that because they want to understand the beginnings of how to develop distortion, and you absolutely can do that from a starting standpoint. But that's not ultimately where you want to end up when you do distortion. Now, if you're a Zen screamer, if you know what I mean, and you're only looking to do growl and really hardcore scream and growl like that, yes, that's the majority of that is false vocal folds if done correctly. And it's kind of like when a dog barks and he kind of gets hoarse and there's that kind of like flabby sort of sound that kind of comes into the voice using your false vocal folds. That's a way to get that done without destroying your regular main vocal folds themselves, your main chords. So anyway, Joel, is there a certain neck posture to help with the high notes? Yeah, sing straight. Sing straight. Don't look up. Don't look down. Sing straight. Don't turn to right or left. Do your best to keep your chin just a little raised, not down like this, but just like this. Now, by the way, that's for a neutral laryngeal position. In the case of opera, if you notice Pavarotti, you see him kind of looking down like that. A lot of people in opera default to a lower laryngeal position, and I've gotten so many arguments with bel canto people over this. There's so many schools of thought and camps on this. They can decide whatever they want to decide. They can't even agree with themselves on stuff. But if you look at Pavi, or you look at Luciano Pavarotti, or you look at Placido Domingo, or whoever, and you see they kind of do this tilting down of the chin like this when they go up to high notes, they're relying on a lowered laryngeal position because they're not planning on going any higher. Let me say that again. They're relying on a lowered larynx, that's your voice box, laryngeal position, because they're not planning on going any higher than vincero, which is the B in nascent dorma, or a C, in something else, the high C, the tenor C, C5. So because of that, it's a very, very stable platform to get to that note over and over again if you practice it. The problem is it locks down the folds just like the raised laryngeal position gets locked up in the folds. When Brian Johnson does that and you see him get locked up a lot, that's also true for going the opposite direction in a raised laryngeal position. So ideally, you want a slightly lowered position, understand how to keep the floorboard, so to speak, of your voice box down, but also know how to relax and release it to actually allow it to move. Now, there's another school of thought on this. Sorry for this long-winded answer, Joel. There's another school of thought on you should never move your larynx. Oh, gosh. I'm so tired of people that say stuff that don't know jack shiz. Our larynx moves all the time, guys. Moves all the time. Whether we like it or not, it's going to move to some degree. Can you control the laryngeal position? Is the goal to keep most of it in a neutral position? Yes, neutral to slightly lowered, so that when you want to raise it or you go up to a certain note and it kind of raises on its own and you don't have full control of it, you're not going into a hyper raised laryngeal position where it chokes off and it inhibits your ability to go up in range. So I cover all this in my singing course, guys. So these are highly technical answers to these questions. Hopefully they make sense to you. Gabriel, hey Ken, any tips on singing high but without much power? I don't mean by falsetto. Yeah, actually I do it all the time. Gabriel, when we just talked about when you say falsetto, so again, when we build head voice and we build it to match the tonal qualities of our chest voice, I'm going to bet money that if I worked with you a year, let's say, and we did this back and forth, you're going to get to the point where you go, I don't even know if I'm in head voice. Like, I'm singing really high. I can't tell if I'm in chest or head. Ken, can you tell me? I can tell because I know what I'm looking for. But actually, so you get to the point where it's not falsetto. The reinforcement of that falsetto to match the tonal qualities of your chest voice become just like your chest voice in its timbre, in its sound, in its brightness. So now, if you're asking, can you stretch chest up really high with singing very light? You can. It's very difficult to do. You can do it. And I can't cover it here, but yes, it's possible. Popland again. Can I improve my agility to sing runs, or are some voices just not built for that? No, any voice is built for that. Now let's okay, big question, Popland. But you guys, man, thank you for asking such literate questions. It's nice to get, instead of I'm dog, can I sing like a growling dog? So big answers to these. So I can only give you, again, just small sound bitey kind of things. But let me say this. There are different voice types. I have a thing called vocal fox, F-A-C-H. So watch my I have a video on it on YouTube, and then I did a live stream on it. There are different voice types, vocal fox. So a dramatic baritone, that guy is going to be very different than a lyric who's also kind of an older sounding voice, which is up higher, but it's still an older or more aged or seasoned sounding voice, like a lyric, or a spinto or a coloratura. Now, I'm going to pit a coloratura against, a dramatic baritone. A coloratura is very light and agile, and that chick can go all over. All these crazy things, right? Now, by the way, that's different than a blues or a soul lick, so I want to add that too. In the world of opera, or when you train, the old school idea of training the voice in scale structures is to be extremely exact, like a stair step, on the scales themselves that you're singing, okay? Why this is not cool is that if you've ever listened to an operatic singer try a blues lick, and we've kind of mocked them a little bit before. Sorry for my bel canto friends out there. But if you hear them do a blues lick, their tendency is to go, right? That's their idea of a blues lick. Let's speed it up here. Right? Because they've trained their voice to notch the vocal folds in a stair-step manner to where each note is really precise and exact. Nothing wrong with that so long as you're singing opera, okay? So even the coloraturas, as cool as they are, if you notice, they've got no swag or no pull or no slide in and out of like a minor third. Right? They can't do that because they've never trained their voice to do it. So what I say in KTVA is we first need to know that we're getting precision in our note values to get good placement of the vowels, etc., and so on. But as we move through understanding how to warm up correctly, and even doing a lot of these fast runs and scales that I have in my course, those absolutely help you. And in my singing course, I even have an entire section called Licks and Tricks, okay? And the reason this is important is because if we train it to have some swag or a leeway in any direction, we can pull a minor third lower or, push a major third higher or whatever that is. We can have some swag in the blues licks that we do. So we absolutely can train it. There's an absolute specific way to train it. We do want to train it with precision and perfection and exactness first, and then we want to migrate into being a little looser with that until we know that we have the placement of the vowels themselves. By the way, this is also true for finding good vowel modifications instead of popping into a vowel modification like a lot of times happens in opera. I found that to be actually counterproductive because a lot of people, when they go to a vowel modification, for those of you who go, Ken, what the heck is a vowel modification? I cover this in my singing course. I also have a YouTube video on vowel modifications. Look them up, but I cover this. I mean, this is a primary thing of a building block in my singing course, that when we have to modify a vowel, so let's say a vowel is really big on the bottom, and as we're going up, we modify it to a smaller vowel sound. There's a tendency in opera to treat it like a light switch and go, la, right? And la, and oo, we close the vowel down as we go up top. Well, that's really problematic because then you're actually forcing that vowel modification has to have a specific note value every time you go to it. Let me say it again. That means that you're forcing and notching into your chords, just like you're notching a scale, like we just talked about a second ago. You're forcing the throat to go into a very specific note value on the chords to accommodate a vowel modification. Well, that really sucks if you're doing a blues lick, because then, right? And all of a sudden it pops into this thing and you hear it like a yodel. It's funky and it doesn't sound cool. So what I teach is a yawning sensation to create this, the feeling of yawning over a note or two before you get into this vowel modification, in order to be able to seat the vowel so it's easy to sing in the throat. Kind of like you're singing a reverb note where you hit this high note and you're going, wow, I'm not straining or struggling at all at this note. Sounds like it's soaking at reverb. It's so beautiful and easy to access and round and pretty, right? That's the ultimate goal, and that's precisely what we do at Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. All right, I'm going to go for one more here. Kylie, I have a question. I'm trying to get to high notes, but I am an alto. So how can I get high notes? Just wondering. Okay, Kylie, I just answered that question. So get my singing course or check out some of my tutorials on this. I'm going to move on and give him one more question, because Jeffrey, that question keeps getting asked over and over again. Jeffrey, if I learn to sing with your course, will I have an awesome speaking voice like yours also? Yeah, actually, it helps tremendously with your, thank you for the awesomeness on the speaking voice. I'm blushing. But anyway, yeah, absolutely. It gives you a nice bright timbre, nice bright power, authority. If you notice, I speak from my diaphragm. I don't talk to you guys like this, like, hey, how's it going, man? I'm pretty good. Oh, awesome. All right, you doing awesome? Yeah, I'm doing awesome, man. Right? I have a command and authority in my sound. So anyway, guys, save these. I'm going to go ahead and if there's some that I missed that are important, I'll include them in the next batch. It's really good to see you guys. I won't be seeing you until I see you again next time in Crete, though I will keep videos coming with regularity every day. I've pre-recorded a lot of stuff, how to sing like so-and-so, you know, what makes a singer great, live singing tutorials that are coming up, and also live singing demonstrations. So until next time, gang, God bless all of you, and peace out.